Hello and welcome to another video in my raspiBackup channel. In this video I want to explain how you can use all the nice raspiBackup options which you actually cannot configure with the installer. There are a lot of nice options available, but you have to configure them the way it's done in Linux. You have to configure a config file. Okay, so let's go on my system right now to show you how you can modify the configuration file. In raspiBackup there exists a configuration file. It's called user local etc raspiBackup.conf. So, oops, I have to use sudo. So I can look into this file, and there you see a lot of stuff you can configure. I will talk about this in a couple of minutes, how you can actually modify them. Let's give you some hints and tips how you can navigate on the Linux console. First of all, you may know that you can use the up and down arrow to recall old commands you added, and so that's the easiest way, just to execute the old command again. There's another nice feature. It's well, you access it if you press Ctrl R. It's the reverse search feature in Linux. And now I can type in any characters or string I know I used in the previous command, or in the command I now want to retrieve. So as far as I remember, I used cat. Okay, so I typed in cat, and you can see I easily see the cat command, and I don't have to type all these nice characters. So just execute it again, sudo is missing, so it works. And there's also a nice feature available. You can call history, and then you see all the commands you executed in the past. And you can quite easily execute any command you see over here. For example, if you if you type in exclamation mark 808, that way I called this command. I executed in my previous demo I gave in German. And there's another thing I want to explain you. You can also modify the config file on a Windows system, for example. But unfortunately, if you send it back to the Linux system, to the Raspberry, you will get unfortunately an error like this, because there's a different format for line feed used in Windows than in Linux. So if you just copy your file you created and modified to the Linux system, you will get this error. But there's a nice tool available on Linux. I just use Ctrl R again to retrieve the command I added in my previous video session in German. You type in DOS to Unix, and this tool will convert the Unix line feeds, the Windows line feeds into Unix. And now if I call sudo raspiBackup again, I will not get any errors again. Okay, and just before I forget it, there's another nice feature, the tab expansion. You can use the tab key to easily expand any file structures you have on your system. So for example, if I use this command just to see, okay, there are some files in the subdirectory rsync demo. I can easily access any file in this subdirectory if I type in vi. Oh, I I'm used to use vi, but I strongly recommend for everybody who's not used to work on Linux to use another editor. It's called Nano, because it's much easier to use. So I can type in nano bd tab bd1, oh no, rsync demo, then bd type tab, and I can see, okay, I have multiple subdirectories over there. Then I type in 6, again double type the tab expansion, and I can see that I have file 2 and file 3 over there. So just type in 3, and here we are. That's the file I can modify. So just use the tab expansion to quickly expand any file system structures and to navigate in the file system, and also use Control R to retrieve any commands you entered previously. You also can retrieve them with Control R and then just edit them. If you, for example, want to retrieve a command, a complicated command with a lot of options, but want to use a different file name, that's possible and will save a lot of typing. Okay, that's it. So now let's modify the configuration file. So again, I use nano, type in user local etc. You can see every time I just type in the first character. Let's just do it. I type in u tab, now l tab. Oh, no, well, it doesn't work because we have multiple subdirectories with L, starting with L, so I have to type in LO tab, and then last but not least I type in E tab again, and finally I type in an R, type in an R and tab, press the tab key again, and now I can modify the file. Oops. Okay, that's it. Yeah, I know. Well, because we have some credentials in the configuration file, you have to use sudo, so you have to become root in order to modify the file. But now here we are. So on the top we have a configuration version info. Don't modify this. Down there we have a lot of lines starting with an hash. It's just a sign, a comment sign. Please don't remove these hash signs. Here we can see that's the default backup path is configured. Here we see the backup type and whether a zip backup should be created. All these options can be configured in the installer, so that's not a problem. But if we go down, further down here, you will see there are a lot of additional options. Well, you will not see in the installer. So if we go to the website, here all options are described. On the left side you can see the parameter you have to use if you want to modify or set the option on the command line, a description, whether there's a default, whether this option can be set in the installer, and last but not least, the name of the option you have to use in the configuration file. I don't want to talk about all these different options over here. Just visit this page, read through the page, and well, understand what nice features are available also in raspiBackup. There are a lot of features. Most of the features you cannot configure with the installers because the installer primarily was created for people who, well, just to make sure they can start raspiBackup as fast as possible. But if you want to use the more experienced and nice features of raspiBackup, you have to do it and modify the configuration file. Okay, so let's talk about the options. Please note, well, most of the options start with a double quote and end with a double quote. Inside there you have to insert any characters which describe the option. What you can insert in there is described on this web page. Please make sure that you start the parameter, the option, with a double quote and also finish it. Otherwise we will get again serious invocation errors when you start raspiBackup. If you go further down, you can see there are some options where you don't have, or where there are no quotes, double quotes used. That's possible. Oops, over here I missed to translate it in the configuration file. That's possible if you just turn on or turn off any option. So if you turn an option off, just use 0, and if you turn it on, just use 1. And you don't have the starting and ending double quote. But I strongly recommend to use them, because then all configuration options are written consistently. But again, do it as you want, so you can also leave them. But you have to make sure that you use them if it's not an on-off option. Okay, so I think that's it. Please make sure you don't delete the hash sign, the leading hash sign, because then a comment will be activated as an option and then you will get some strange failures. Please make sure you convert a Windows file to Unix file format if you decide to modify the configuration file on a Windows box. And yeah, if you consider all these recommendations, you shouldn't get any issues, and you should be able to use all the nice options of raspiBackup. Okay, so I hope I gave you some ideas how you can use these options and how you can modify these options. And now have fun and use them. Bye.